Mike, how excited are you and the players to get the campaign underway?
Yeah, it's the start of another season, full of hope, full of ambition for some of these young lads to try and create good impressions throughout the club and in the Football League, and we're hoping we've got some good players that we can give the manager a few headaches throughout the season.
Just give us an idea about the year ahead. It feels like already we've had a lot of the younger lads go out on loan. How different is your side going to look to start off with, but also perhaps through the course?
Yeah, I think we've sort of looked at some of the ages of some of the lads, and we feel as if obviously men's football is what some of them need. So I think the strategy has changed a bit. We've got one or two players out and playing men's football, and hopefully it's going to help them. And hopefully it raises their profile and raises their confidence. And again, we want them to come back flying and give the club, what the manager and the first team staff here, an opportunity to sort of say, look, you can do it at that sort of level. It's not just about obviously the performance. It's dealing with the peripheral things, external things that they're not quite used to. A lot of the lads who we're talking about have been at Blackburn for a hell of a long time. Going out there, something different voices, different ways of playing, different sort of facilities and opportunities, and going back to basics. It's about football, and it's about hopefully creating a good impression and being a good influence, engaged in what the manager wants you to do, and try and make sure you're helping the team to be successful.
And that hopefully will lead to them coming back here and being part of the first team. When you've got that experience elsewhere, how much do you feel it helps bridge that gap between the 23s and the first team?
Yeah, it's not for everybody with a linear sort of path. We've got to try and create opportunities for other people to sort of get more opportunities than probably maybe what one or two of them had been getting in the past. So we had to look at that, and we feel as if it's beneficial for one or two of them to go out there. We still think there's good standard of football playing in Premier League too, and we play against some top players, but it's that competitive edge, that sort of understanding of what 3 points really means. I think we feel as if sometimes there was a gap in one or two of their learning, and hopefully this might bridge that.
The knock-on effect might be this year that you've got a younger group, but how beneficial for them to have that exposure to the football that you're playing at a slightly earlier age?
I think on a regular sort of basis last year, Neil, I think our average age was something like 18.5. So the way the previous manager obviously wanted to manage the peripheral players of his squad, meant a lot of our players sort of got involved with that anyway. So I don't think that's changed too much. What has been a good opportunity for us this year is that we've trained as a group all through the pre-season. So hopefully we've highlighted some of the principles that we want to try and make sure they get out of the games and on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, and we still feel as if there's one or two players that we can try and push forward throughout this season.
Does it feel a slightly more settled squad then, and was that one of the biggest challenges last year?
Oh, without a doubt. Sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes the lads found it really tough that all of a sudden they're coming out of 21 games to play in internal 11v11s, and that was difficult for one or two people to sort of assess and take on board, but that's how the previous manager wanted to do it, and there's positives to that and obviously some negatives as well, and we've just tried and manage that and to the best of our ability. But we still got to try and get players through, and hopefully we'll still be able to have the facilities and an environment that's going to produce one or two players going forward.
Just give us an idea, reflecting on last season, how tough it was at times, but ultimately what did you learn about the group, the way they came through those times?
No matter who we put out, we feel as if we're going to be competitive. It did feel as if at times, obviously, I think we conceded 5 goals in a row in 3 or 4 games, which was really tough because we were really young at the time. But I've got to give a lot of lads credit, because you've got to keep turning up every day in training and try and make sure you manage that sort of disappointment and frustration, because that came across as well. But I think sometimes you might argue it probably accelerated their learning, and I think that's what some of the stuff we've got to try and manage, and progression is always the most valuable tool we want to try and provide for them.
Tough at times, but you feel and hope they might reap the rewards of going through those tough times sort of this season and further down the line as well?
Yeah, definitely. Ultimately it's about confidence and momentum, and the more successful you are as a team, I think individuals will prosper. But it's still about getting those 1 or 2 individuals through, and we feel as if we've done that in the past, and we still feel as if we want to try and keep pushing that, and as long as we go about our business on a regular basis, competitive, consistently, I think we will produce players.
What does success look like this season? You have the PL2, you have the Premier League International Cup as well. What would for you be a good campaign?
it wasn't always about the results, and we've always tried to understand that, but we always want to try and make sure players recognise that we want to win games of football. That's got to be the number one sort of thought process. Developing individually will help that, and that's something we're trying to promote, that confidence will come from what you do on a daily basis. Confidence will come from, you know, making sure you understand what is the responsibility of the position you're playing, for example. And I think we've just got to try and make sure we're competitive, we're consistent. You know, we want to try and finish as high up in the league table as possible, because that's football as well. But within that, we want to try and get individuals to progress. And you know, it's fantastic to see Leo Giroux making his debut the other night. And that's just something we want to try and make sure we never fall away from. That opportunities will come if you consistently perform.
Is that really good for you to have that right at the start of a season as well? Because Leo's sort of been on that journey. I think the last couple of years he's really kicked on, hasn't he? For him to go and play in the first team, does that help you to say to anybody else in the group, look, it can happen?
Without a doubt, and obviously the best example we had was obviously the Adam Wharton. You know, it's obviously all of a sudden you don't realise how far away from being an England player you are. You know, it was only 6 months ago. He was just in around Blackburn, but he's someone the lads know very well. But he performed, he trained to a high level on a regular basis, and you know, we've got to make sure our lads keep doing that. You know, sometimes they might have, you know, peaks and troughs, and sometimes when they're down there, you've got to make sure you keep turning up, keep being resilient, you know, keep doing the right thing. You know what the right thing is. But hopefully, what we keep saying is try and be the best at whatever level you're playing at the moment. Whatever opportunities you get, keep performing to the best of your ability. And if you're a goal scorer, you know, scoring goals. If you're a defender, you know, coming out on top in your 1v1 battles. And a midfielder, getting on the ball, making them tick, and sort of, you know, doing your job to the best of your ability. And I feel as if that's never going to change. There
is that development side to the games, but is the nature of the beast also that if you win matches of football, you get recognition, you get noticed a little bit more because you're winning?
Yeah, I think so, Neil. I think it is important that, you know, we want to produce winners. There's no doubt about that. But part of winning sometimes is understanding, you know, you're not going to win every single game. You've got to try to win it every single game, but you're not. And that's as long as you can manage those sorts of frustrations and feelings, you know, and still never come away from the fact that I need to do better at this, I need to get better at that. And because none of us are perfect, and we've got to try and make sure we just keep progressing, keep developing and keep improving. I think, you know, Blackburn Rovers will be fine in the future. We've got some good players here.
I know you've enjoyed the experiences of the Premier League International Cup in the last few years. How good to have that again with different opposition for this campaign, but how good are those experiences?
Yeah, I think those games are probably my favourite games of the season, purely because I think you're playing against real top players. You know, we play against some really good players in the PL2 without a doubt. You know, over the years we've played against Cole Palmer, we've played against, you know, James McAtee, and you know, it's good to be able to try that, try your qualities against those qualities as well. But internationally, it's all of a sudden it's tactically, you know, it becomes different sorts of different ways to what we're playing. I think we've played against the Cities, Uniteds, the Liverpools over the years. You get fairly used. It doesn't change too many times. Maybe obviously tactically slightly, but when you're playing against the Portos or your Benficas or your, you know, it was at PSVs, it is a different sort of type of game, and it's a good challenge that we all look forward to.
Is that really good for the players to have that difference?
Yeah, definitely. I think we always want to try and we develop people obviously psychologically and, you know, tactically as well, and on a regular basis, always physically and technically. But it's making sure those tactical and psychological problems, you know, come to the fore in those games, I think.
So Everton on Friday night. What are you expecting from them?
Yeah, it was a strange one because we've just played Everton in our last game of pre-season, so to then go and play them again, you know, probably just add one or two little psychological problems there. But you know, we performed well last Saturday against Everton in the last pre-season game, which we won 3-0. So all of a sudden, I think they'll be smarting. They'll be thinking, okay, we're not allowing them to do that to us again. So we've got to be ready for a bit of a fight, and I'm sure that they'll be up for it and give us a few problems.
Goals has been rubbing off generally around the start of this season. You've scored plenty in pre-season as well. It's you know one of the hardest things in football to put the ball in the back of the net, but when you've got a side in good goal scoring form, how pleasing is that?
Yeah, it's very pleasing. You know, sometimes it is the difference between winning and losing games, and you know it's you know, when you've got confidence and belief and you get opportunities to take your chances. At the minute, we seem to be taking them. And the good thing is it's not just one individual, you know, we're getting it spread around the team at the minute, which is really pleasing. But yeah, that's the challenge going ahead, and I'm sure we'll have 1 or 2 problems throughout the season, and as long as the lads go about their business the way they've been doing in the last 6, 7 or 8 weeks, even in pre-season, I'm sure we'll put up a good fight in most of the games.